Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the 30 something podcast. This is episode 8, and we've got a lovely guest here with us, our friend Sarah. Welcome, Sarah.
Hey.
She's been dragged into this conversation to talk about dating. Should we give like a very brief explanation of how we met Sarah?
Oh, okay. Sarah met our, let's say, friend. That's shorter. Sarah met our friend at his cafe. He worked in a cafe, and she was like always coming in. And then he invited her to play frisbee with us, and that's how we met.
Yeah,
so is that where you met?
Ultimate Frisbee crew, exactly. We've mentioned the Ultimate Frisbee group several times on this podcast already. It always gets brought up. Anyway, so thanks for joining us. Yeah, it's important, exactly. Do you want to give? Who wants to give a introduction to what we're talking about?
Dating. Dating in 2025, dating in our 30s. Are you 30 yet, Sarah?
No.
Oh, get out then.
Almost qualified to be on this podcast, but not quite.
Yeah, I'm still 28.
I'm sure we'll have a lot to learn from you anyway.
Maybe we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, dating. I mean, that's obviously a super broad topic, but I guess in particular, I'll kick off by saying I've come out of a 10-year relationship, as I've said a bunch of times on this podcast, and that was a few months ago. And when we started dating, I guess over 10 years ago, I think Tinder had just come out, and dating apps wasn't really a thing. So I've never been on dating apps. I've also just never dated full stop, because everything that's even happened before my previous relationship, it never came out of dating. It was like a relationship that came out of a friendship or something like that. So it's just not a realm that I'm used to, and I'm now popping out as a 30-year-old woman, all my friends having had the experience of dating and dating apps.
Popping out of the birth canal.
And I feel like an absolute baby. I don't know what to do, how to approach it, and I'm kind of scared. And to be honest, I can't say I'm particularly interested in finding anything serious right now, to be honest with you. If the right person comes along, they come along, kind of thing. But I've been told by a few people recently that I should try dating anyway, because it teaches you a lot about yourself, and it's also kind of interesting to see what the dating app world is like. And so I'm open to it.
Sasha disagrees.
Okay. Nice faces being pulled. I'm open to it. And I want to learn from you guys what some of your lessons and experiences are from dating.
Yeah, don't do it.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. See you next time. But Sarah, can you tell us a little bit about what your dating, not your dating history, but
yeah. So almost like a little bit of a reversal from you. I'm in my first relationship. First, I don't think that's quite fair. First, serious relationship. I've been on a number of the dating apps for years. They're a little bit of a game for me. I find them fun, but I've never pinned my hopes on them. So when I went to uni, when I was 18, that's when I started getting, so I have celiac, for listeners who don't know this. Sasha and Tanya know it well. But that was when I started getting really sick. And so I think I spent a few years just dealing with chronic illness in my health, and then kind of got over that and was no, I don't want a relationship. I feel like I've been robbed of being 18, 19, and 20. And then I think maybe experience a little bit of what you're experiencing, where there's an intention to do something, and then there's so much how do you start? Where do you start? What am I doing? What am I wading into type experience for a little bit, and then moved back home after college, which I think just kind of quashes any sort of plans for dating personally. And then did some traveling, nothing serious, and then COVID hit. And then it was being pushed back into this kind of forced celibacy in some ways. uh, and then I moved
That's actually
to London.
pretty
Yeah,
tough timeline.
yeah. Then I moved here to London, still during COVID, and then I think I
During
finally
COVID.
started like casually dating slash really hooking up with people as lockdown wore off.
Okay.
Which is about when we met you. So I kind of met you as like a
Yeah.
casual dater sort of
Yes.
person.
Yeah. That is when you met me.
And say more about why. So you said you kind of treat it like a game. Say more
Yeah.
about like that versus any desire to find somebody significant.
I think that to use dating apps successfully, there's two different ways to. This is like very reductive, but maybe two different ways to go about it. One is to be so incredibly earnest, and the other is to be like, what do I have to lose? I can meet people. This is kind of fun. It's kind of objectively funny that we're all doing this and we're all here and we're like shopping for each other on an app. And like, I think I went with the second, like, didn't quite take it seriously, which I think like successfully the people that I chose were the same. Like, that's what I was looking for, is for people who weren't really taking it seriously. I think it might be harder if you're approaching it from the other end. I think I just approached it with a little bit of like, trying to think of a good word. Like, it's not just casual, because I don't think it has to be casual. I think it's just like with a little bit of levity, because it's a little bit funny that we're all doing this. And I think like that's how I felt about it.
I thought you were gonna say something like big dick energy or like
no, no, no. And I mean, like, I'm sure some people do. I don't think I have the time to be approaching it with that sort of energy, is the reality.
don't have
I
time
like
for big dick
notoriously
energy.
don't date in the summer because it's beautiful out, and I'd rather spend time with people I actually really love than like
Oh, interesting.
dating new people and having to like lose a really fun night where it's light until 11 p.m. in London and my friends are in the park, to like some random person who I'm probably at the end of the night can be like, you're not for me. So yeah, that's been like a pattern that I've noticed over the last few years.
So for you,
Okay.
dating apps was more of like a fun pastime.
Yeah, as I got older, I think I was really intimidated by them when I was like 8. So Tinder came out when I was like 18. So I guess that is 10 years ago, 17 or 18. And everybody was kind of on it when I went to college. And it just like freaked me out. As I've gotten older, I've gotten a lot less kind of shy, but it like, I think when you're a little bit shy, it's like the worst part of meeting people, except for you're like putting yourself out there to feel like you're being judged a little bit. And yeah, I think I was a little bit like timid about it. And then a couple years later, Hinge came out, and I was at school in the Bay, or at uni in the Bay, which is like San Francisco, Oakland area in the US, and Silicon Valley. And so we got apps launched at us basically as the target audience quite early. And so Hinge came out, and the way Hinge started was that it like you logged in via your Facebook, and then it was friends of friends. So the only people that you would see were people who you were connected to by 1 to 2 people. It was essentially like LinkedIn. And then I kind of like went off it. I went off all dating apps kind of when I was sick. I just like wasn't, there were other things that I was thinking about that were taking up my time. And then when I came back to Hinge was when it had been like opened up entirely. So it was just like people
I
within
wonder
a
why they
radius.
changed the model, because I like the original model.
Because
Yeah, I
run
mean, you
out
could.
of
I
choice.
I've heard that LinkedIn is the place to date.
What?
What?
I think it was a joke. It was a joke. Yeah.
To
And
put your career in jeopardy.
No, I was just like slide in, I guess. Like, it's a great way to vet whether somebody's
why
fully.
not though?
Do
Why
you
not?
have a job, and also are you single?
I mean, look, you can see where they're located. You can see what their job is. You can.
Yeah.
Um,
See where they went
you
to
have
school.
connections. You can. There's a lot
You
of
get
information.
recommendations. Like, I mean, people giving them reviews on LinkedIn.
Yes. Yeah. If
Yeah.
you really want to know if they can write succinct emails, or if they're like
Yeah, exactly.
good at responding to clients. That's what I'm looking for in a partner.
So, Sa, Give
Yes.
us your dating background in a nutshell.
I've been single for 7 years, a long time, and using dating apps on and off. I've tried like a couple of times to date in more traditional ways, but in the end, it's all comes to the same result, which is I'm still single. And yeah, I mean, I've told Tanya before, like I didn't want to do this topic. I'm not ready to talk about it. I feel like if I get a happy ending, I'm happy to talk about it. But right now, I'm still in the trenches, and like it freaking sucks down here.
Yeah.
The whole dating app thing, like it's traumatizing. So I'm
But this
I'm
might
here
be,
for you.
yeah, thanks. This might be an interesting like capsule for you to look back on. You know, when you do find someone, you can look back on what it was like in the trenches.
Well,
The trenches.
I'm pretty bitter right now.
Yeah.
So like I don't
I
want
mean,
to.
that's kind of why I'm interested in your perspective too. I don't know if Sarah's bitter. Are you bitter?
No. No,
Great.
I mean, I think even while I started, I mean, should I refer to him by name or by signifier?
Oh,
So your
let's call him
boyfriend?
something funny.
I mean, you guys know him, so you can go
Okay,
on with that.
what's his favorite animal?
I don't think he has one. He also is anti-favorite colors.
What favorite
Anti-favorite
food?
colors. What's a food he really
He
likes?
likes cycling.
Let's call him
Okay.
cycling.
No,
Cycle man.
Bikey.
there's no way he doesn't listen to this because I've told him about it, obviously. So
Right,
I
so
think
your new name
that's
is
something that, like,
Cycle Man. Dude, congrats on dating Sarah, by
no,
the way.
the
Absolute
person that
catch.
I'm dating slash in a relationship with, I feel like dating maybe doesn't quite work anymore. Before I, like, for like several months before we started dating, or really whatever messy slide into dating we had, I like wasn't on any apps. So I don't think I was bitter. I think I was just like, I'm bored. I don't know if I
Yeah,
go
I mean,
bitter.
I
I think I
think
go
like
bored.
what you're. Yeah, that makes sense. I think what you were talking about, like coming at it with levity versus coming at it with sincerity, I was definitely on the sincerity side. And I
Yeah.
think you're right. Like when you're coming at it with sincerity and you're meeting all these people on dating apps who are coming at it with levity, it's just a mess. It's just a
Yeah.
mess.
Yeah. And I think that that's something that isn't always easy to navigate. Like, I don't know. I had jokes and I had memes in all of my profiles. So I think I was like very much broadcasting that I was coming at it with a certain degree of like of that levity.
This levity versus sincerity thing is going to be really challenging for me because I think by nature I approach these things with sincerity, but
Yeah.
in reality I just don't think I want to actually give off that energy right now that I'm looking for something serious.
Well, I mean, I think part of it is like approaching it with that levity doesn't mean that you're not like actually interested in meeting people and getting to know them and like having, even if it's a single date, having a moment where you're like thinking about the possibility of building something with another person. Like, I don't think that they're mutually exclusive. I just think that for me, it was a way of broadcasting kind of the hesitancy around it, a certain level of detachment. I think also some of my personality, like, I don't think that, yeah, I don't think I think kind of like humor is something that I want in a relationship anyways. And so making sure that that was like broadcast out to everybody from the start was important to me. But I wasn't like that at first. Like that there was an evolution to get there of like I also like hate photos of myself, so it's like a balance of like finally after years having enough photos of myself that are like up to date enough of me that I like to like be able to show that to people. But yeah, I think you have to like find ways to not take it seriously because otherwise it feels like a judgment on your character, which it isn't. Like a judgment on like whether or not you're worthy of being in a relationship, which it isn't. And if you fall into that trap, then yeah, it becomes this really awful place to be. And there's an addiction to that because you're like constantly seeking this, I think, especially where it's like who's going to like me, who's going to like me, who's going to like me. You're like seeking this external validation from people who know nothing about you, who even after one date still know nothing about you, don't know who you are, don't know how you treat the people in your life, don't know what interests you, like don't understand what you are looking for. And that's just like not fair to you to like put yourself, like nobody should have to put themselves in that situation. I don't think dating necessarily has to be that. I think like it was really great for me to be able to like, you know, I went on some terrible dates. It's not to say that like everything was like easy or fun or that like I wasn't disappointed by things not working out, because I don't think that that's always the case. But that like, I don't know, it's fun to get dressed up. It's fun to put like a little bit of makeup on and be like, I'm hot. I know, like I know that. And then to go into these spaces and like, you know, after a little bit of like a motivational talk for yourself about how you can be social and interesting and funny, like stepping into the space and being there for the moment and then leaving it and like not having to place who you are, how you understand yourself and how you see yourself as a person on this one event, when in reality, like I don't know the stuff that's going on in this person's life. I don't know their own issues. Like that's not, I don't want a first date to be like, here's my baggage, what's yours? Like I don't think that that's necessarily a good thing to start from. I also don't want to be holding the emotional baggage of somebody that I don't care about or know.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, I don't know, I think like,
So I have a question for you. Do you find meeting someone, like meeting new people and socializing with new people, enjoyable?
yes.
Right.
Yeah,
That would
I
help.
am. No, so I mean, I am very much an extrovert.
Mm.
It took me a long time to realize that's what it was. I think I like, especially like in periods where I've had like really bad kind of depressive episodes, I get into this like inertia of like never seeing anybody, and I'm just like forget the fact that actually I really need to be with other people to like feel most of myself. At the same time, I'm like quite shy, and I do have to like hype myself up before I enter any sort of social situation. And I like still remember the first time it was at like I like wrote for the school newspaper in college, and also for listeners, I use college, uni, and school interchangeably. Apologies, it's an Americanism. I
Should
was
we
in
just
college.
assume you're talking about uni?
Yeah,
American
just
girl
as an
living in
Unless you
Londonism.
say high school, right?
yeah, I would say high school otherwise. I was going into a party. I like hadn't met everybody. And I remember like standing in front of the door and just like for the first time ever, I think giving myself a little bit of a pep talk of like, I think I was just like excruciatingly nervous to the point of having like my insides feeling like they were being like wound up. And I was like, it's going to be fine. You're going to have fun. Everybody's really nice. You want to be here. They want you here. Just like telling myself these things. And then like I got in and I had more fun than I'd had in ages. And I was like, oh, that's the secret. It's just like stepping into a space being like, yeah, I'm supposed to be here. And I think like I do that before I was doing that before dates, like because there is this shyness still where I like have to overcome it. But once I've done that, once I'm like in the space and I'm like, give myself permission to just like turn the part of my brain that's excruciatingly self-conscious off, then I'm like in the space and I'm like, okay, this is fun. Like this person, this is gonna be like a great, I hate ending dates because it's just like awkward and it always is, but like for the next 2.5 hours, 2 hours, like I'll have a drink or two, it'll be fine, and then I'll say goodbye to the person if I decide I don't like them, or we'll make plans to see each other again. That's it.
Yeah.
um
I have
yeah.
so many follow-up questions for you. But actually it goes nicely into like the next section, which is like I want to like learn from you guys based on your experience. So you you spoke a little bit about like almost purposefully curating your profile so that it shows certain things about you, like it shows that levity, it shows humor, blah blah blah. So my general question here is like, what was your approach with creating your profile? Like how aligned is it to who you are? Like are you trying to make it the most
Yeah.
accurate representation of you, or are you actually trying to curate it in a particular way for the purposes of the way you want to date or the type of people you want to find or
Yeah.
strengths you're trying to reveal about yourself?
I mean, I definitely curated it. The main apps I was on were Hinge and then Field as it came out a little bit later
Field.
on. Yeah, it's a little bit
What's that
kinkier.
one? Oh, okay.
Okay.
It may not be
What?
as much now because it's kind of like gone into the mainstream, but it was, I think it originally started for people who were like interested in non-monogamy.
Okay.
Got it.
Was it like instead of putting your like, your details and stuff, it would be like putting in your kinks or something?
Yeah, so they had that. They had that
Mm.
for part of it. It was like, what are you into? And there was like all sorts of things. But then they had like other interests where you could do, I think I put like lying in the sun as one of my interests. But at the same time, it had a much more expansive catalog of like identities, what your sexuality is, and who you're interested in looking for. So, like full range of gender spectrum, full range of sexuality spectrum. And so I think it just like, again, it's now probably like most other sites inundated with straight men, but for a while it wasn't.
Where are
And
all
I
these
think
straight men coming from? Why are there so many straight men? Makes no sense.
um, but yeah, so it was like a nice little, I don't know, I think Tinder still freaks me out. Not been on it since I was a teenager.
So back to the curating your profile
Just
question
curating
then.
my profile.
What was your approach?
I had a few photos of myself that I liked. I think I basically, in my head, oh God, this sounds so like a little bit self-indulgent. And I kind of
Indulge.
hate this, but it was, I like, I think that you kind of need a narrative arc.
Okay, let's get into it.
And I don't mean that like your prompts have to reference your photos and or that type of stuff, but I think you need to like tell a little bit of a story about yourself. And so like I guess on Hinge you've got 3 prompts and you've got 6 photos and you've got to like create some sort of story that you're telling to these other people that they're like then able to understand, catalog, and like decide whether or not they want to engage further. So I
So what are
like
like the default photo types that you think you
Oh
need?
God, I don't know because I definitely have like everybody else read all sorts of blogs about what you should be using and what gets the most likes, etc. But I think I ended. I don't have my phone here with me.
I've
I
not
would
read
like,
any of those. I can't believe those are out there.
yeah,
That
yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense.
People spend a lot of time on this.
My
I think
guess is like this. It's like a close-up face,
they want you
close-up
want to
enough
put the
face.
face of you smiling with your mouth open, but I don't
Oh,
because
okay. Because some people are into teeth.
some people want to
They
know if
care
you have.
about teeth.
Sure.
Then it's like a photo with
Well,
friends.
okay,
Like
I
I'm
have
not a
something to
hermit.
say
No, so
about that.
I think you well, one, I think you shouldn't put photos of friends unless you ask your friends whether they're okay to be in those photos.
Fair.
But I also think photos of friends can be really bad if you haven't already put photos of yourself several times because if people can't tell who you are,
Yeah.
they're not going to they're not interested. Or if you put yourself with a friend who you think other people are going to find more attractive than you, then they're just going to be annoyed at you. Like I was just like, "Wow, I don't care what your friends look like. Like don't hide
Yeah,
behind
that's
this
fair.
friend that you think is more attractive." I think
I have something to say about the teeth thing.
yeah.
Go on.
Like, I've seen profiles of men, because I'm looking at men, on dating apps where all of their pictures have the same, like, they're smiling like this or whatever. And I just
For
know,
those who are
like,
not looking,
none of them,
wait, for those who are
sorry,
not on video, what was the face you just pulled?
I
A side smirk,
smirked.
closed mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Like,
mouth closed, side smirk, almost
smirk to
pout.
one side. Yeah. And you can just tell, like, they're hiding their teeth because it's all of them, and they're not comfortable showing their teeth. There are no actual smiles.
That's a
And I
British
just
thing. I'm
know, like,
sorry.
you're hiding your teeth. Why are you hiding your teeth? What have you got to hide?
Okay, that's a
That's a
good
very
tip.
That's a very British thing, unfortunately. I wish I could say the
Why?
stereotypes weren't true, but people have worse teeth here. I think they're
Oh,
self-conscious.
really?
Yeah. They don't
You
get like
didn't
8
know
years of
that, so
orthodontia.
that stereotype?
What?
No, I didn't know
Did you
that
not?
stereotype that British people have
That's an
worse.
American
Worse.
stereotype then, that British people have bad teeth. But also
Huh.
they don't do 10 years of orthodontia, so
Okay,
I don't know.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what other? Do you feel like you
I
need a body pic?
People want it because they want to know what you look like, and like the reality is you're providing a catalog of photos of yourself. It is superficial. Like we just have to get over that. If you're on a dating app, it's superficial. they like can't delve into your soul and understand your like reason for living.
Unless you
And
can
I think
put
we
it
also have
in
to get
the
past
short
like,
number of words that you're given.
yeah, but I think also like, look, like I very much believe that like wear your body confidently and you're hot. It doesn't matter what your body looks like. And I think like a lot of people feel
Amen,
that way.
sister. Sorry, I just said amen, sister.
Like I think, you know, it doesn't have to look a certain way, but like, yeah, don't. I think the more you like what's kind of what Sasha was saying, the more you like are very clearly hiding something, the more frustrating it is to the people who are on the other end of it. The meme that I put is something that I've like found absolute. It like makes me laugh every time I see it, so I think it's worth showing. But it's a picture of a Spotify playlist that's like called "Sex" or something, and then it's just "Life is a Highway" from the Cars soundtrack, and it's like 175 days worth of it or something. And it's like really
Life is a
funny.
highway. I'm gonna ride it all night long. It's a good one,
That's a
but
banger.
not a sex song. Not a sex song.
No, but like that's always funny.
So what is your approach to curating your dating profile?
I think I tried to make it quite realistic to a certain extent. So I'll give you an example. I had a picture of me asleep in a car. So you know the face, like your
I know exactly
head's
the face. Your
up
mouth
and
is
your mouth's
open.
completely open, you know?
I love that you put that on there. So real.
And like I think the caption I wrote was like, oh, I don't remember, like it was something like what I spend half of my life doing or something like that, you know, something realistic. And then like I think one of the prompts was like, I want somebody to explore half of our time and be fat and lazy the other half of the time. Like, so I think I was like trying to be pretty realistic. I wasn't like promoting myself to be more or less, you know, desirable than I am, I think, other than like I probably have makeup on in most of my pictures, which realistically I almost never have makeup on.
And if you were dating and you decide very quickly on the first date that you're not into them, what do you do?
Well, that's a good question. I'm terrible at this, admittedly. I wish I could be the person that was like, I've had a really nice time, but I don't see this going anywhere because I think that's really nice. I'm not that person.
So what do you do instead?
Sometimes I can bring myself to do that. Other times I'll just be like, I'm busy in perpetuity.
Oh, okay.
So
Are
are
you
you
a
free for
ghoster?
another date? No, I'm busy.
No, but I also genuinely, if you go on one date with somebody, you can ghost them. I don't think. If you have one conversation with somebody, you owe them nothing. And like it's like that doesn't mean it's the best way to handle it. I just think like don't beat yourself up if you like really struggle to be like rejecting people sucks. It's respectful to it is the most respectful thing to be like thank you but no thank you. But also sometimes we
Yeah.
can't do that and that's okay.
I feel like it depends on whether you had agreed that you'll be going out again or not. If you hadn't
Yes,
already agreed
100%.
that,
Yeah.
then yeah, totally, it's okay to ghost, I think. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree, it's not ideal, but like, totally okay.
No, that's true.
But
I
if
think if
you
there's
had
if you
said,
yeah, sorry,
yeah,
continue.
if you if you were both under the impression or had agreed upon the impression that you were going to continue dating, it's not okay to ghost.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
agree
makes
with
sense.
that.
But
Yeah.
what do you do, Sa, if like you pretty immediately figure out you don't like someone on a first date? And you have to do you just like
Okay,
sit through the
well,
rest of the date?
I think dating etiquette, if both follow dating etiquette, you do not need to excuse yourself from the date, if that makes sense. Like your question was like, what do you do if you don't like them? Just finish the date and then you deal with it after. I feel like that's common dating etiquette. And only once has a person on a date with me asked me like 15 minutes into the date about our second date. And that was uncomfortable. I was like, yeah. And then he asked again, like, oh, yeah, what play should we see later on? And it was like, oh, yeah, I like this play. And then afterwards, I had to text him and, like, go back on what I'd said. Usually it should be, like, don't put someone in that position until
Yeah.
the end or afterwards.
That sounds like somebody who's a trained salesperson. It's like they figured out a tactic to bag the second date before you
But
even
it
have a chance to think about it.
did the opposite.
Yeah.
That made me immediately
Yeah.
not
I
want
bet
to go on
some
the
women
second
like
date.
don't know how to back out of that.
Yeah, they don't. But that's like such a manipulative thing. I mean, I
Yeah.
think the best thing if you're like don't want to answer a question is just to quietly be like, we'll see.
No, thank you.
And like,
Yeah, but if you say we'll see, they often take that as that kind of response as flirting or a challenge.
yeah,
And
but I
they'll
think it's
like
more that it's like a
up the ante.
yeah. I don't know. I've never been in a date where I've been made to commit to anything right off the bat.
So what's the worst date you've ever been on?
For sure, the worst dates I've had are the ones where they don't ask any questions and you're just carrying the full conversation. They probably think they're carrying it because they're doing all the talking, but that's not how conversation works.
That would kill me.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you know you like me at the end of the date if you don't know
Well,
anything about me?
yeah.
Because
They
you
like the way
made
that things
them
make them
feel
feel.
like you're interested in them.
Yeah. God damn. Okay, let's move on to a fun little segment that I'm going to call Is This a Deal Breaker? That's what I've called it.
How about
And
red flag, green flag? Or beige flag, I guess.
well, that's not the segment that we're doing.
Okay, fine. Sorry.
Let's rattle through some of the ones that we have here that are quite fun. And what was funny is Sarah was telling us before that she's actually some of these, so we'll get an interesting perspective. The first one is this a deal breaker? They're still living with their parents. My view on this, personally, is in this bloody economy, you can't blame them. You
Exactly.
can't blame them. I mean, I lived with my parents up until, well, I lived with my mom for a while, up until recently. I think it's kind of nice, actually. Someone who, well, it's like, why are they living with their parents? How do they feel about it? Or is
How
part of the
long?
equation, right? Yeah, for
Yeah.
how
How
long?
long
What
have
are
they
their
been doing it?
plans
Hmm.
to move out? But I would in no way, I think, judge a person for living with their parents currently
Yeah. I don't know. I think the other thing is
at
like
this age.
culturally,
Yeah.
it's like some people just stay with their parents for longer, and I think like, yeah, I don't. I think the like must move out at 18 and never go back isn't necessarily is A, not practical, as you said, in this economy. And then B is like a very specific cultural lens that I don't necessarily know is
Yeah.
applicable to anybody to everybody. So yeah, I don't think it's a deal breaker. I think it just like comes with caveats.
Now, what's challenging is if you both live with your parents and there's no
Yes.
like private space for you to be.
Yes.
But that's not a deal breaker. That's not a judgment on the person. That's just a situational challenge.
If anything, in this economy, it's clever. And I think it's a green flag. I'm sticking to the green flag thing because that means they probably get along with their parents well enough. So that's nice.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
I think I want to know that they can take care of themselves, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. I don't want to know that your mom does your laundry still, or that you like don't
Yeah.
do tasks around the house, or that you're like
Yeah.
relying on these other people for your like for the like daily domestic labor of living.
yeah, you don't know how to cook.
Totally.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I don't think it would be an automatic disqualifier in any way.
Yeah. Okay. Number 2 has never been in a serious relationship before
That's
at this age. Now that's you, Sarah, which is interesting. So what are your views?
yeah, I don't know. I think for me, like I have like there's the reality is many people have reasons for it. Like I think it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, feel free to ask why. But
It
like
obviously wasn't a deal breaker for Bike Man.
Yeah.
no, but I think
Was
he comes from the complete opposite situation where he's never basically not been in a relationship since he was like 16. Um,
so was it something that you had to talk out? Like,
yeah, I mean, we've spoken about it. Like, I think that there's a little bit of like, why is it that this has been your default? Why is the other thing been your default? It's definitely come up in conversation. I think I think I can understand that there's insecurities that come out of it, right? Like, how do you know, like for somebody who's dating me, there's like, how do I know that you know what you want? How do I know that you're not like gonna wake up one day and be like, this is insufficient?
Yeah. I agree.
And
It's really about the why. I think my
yeah,
first concern, if I found out someone had never been in a serious relationship before at this age, my first concern would probably be, is there something seriously undateable about you?
Yeah.
So yeah, like I feel like I would have to see if I can get to the reason, because if it's also just like they just haven't found someone that really matches them, or as you
Yeah.
say, like they didn't feel ready for one but now they do, or whatever, then it's like totally not a deal breaker for me.
And I think if you're approaching the question with like, oh, this person doesn't have the experience that I want them to have, I think that's really closed-minded, right? Because every experience is going to add to you as a partner, whether it's, you know, being single and getting to know yourself better, or it was different sexual experiences. Like, I feel like if you had one serious relationship for, like, let's say Tanya, one serious relationship for 10 years, and then you enter the next relationship, that's really going to bias you as well. So that's not necessarily good experience to bring into a new relationship, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think it's the right question to ask.
Okay, what about they're still best friends, or they are best friends with their ex?
I guess
I
how
think
long
for a
ago?
lot of people this is a controversial one.
Yeah. How long
For
ago was the
me,
relationship?
does that matter? How does
Well,
it
yeah,
matter
if
to you?
it's your ex from when you're 13, 14, 15, why do I care? If it's your, even if it's your, like, what did that relationship mean to you? Was it the most defining relationship of your life? Yeah, that makes me a little bit uncomfortable, because how do you compete with somebody who you have so much growth and development? Not even compete with, because I actually think, like, you're not, I don't like the idea of people competing against each other, or like of owning your partner or being owned by your, like, or even owning their time. Like, does our relationship then become defined by that relationship? That's what I don't want. Can it stand on its own as its own thing? And am I allowed to have a relationship with this person as well? Is like more what I
Yeah.
would be into.
Because even though you might be thinking, I'm not competing with them, like in their mind, you might be.
Yeah, but I don't, yeah, maybe, but I don't even, I think I like don't love the idea of like pitting people against each other. I don't actually think that's the point. And I think like if relationships don't work out and you're like, okay, we work better as friends than as anything else. Like that's great. That's a really amazing thing to come to, is to be like, hey, our relationship works better in this way than it does in this other way. I think what is uncomfortable when you are getting to know somebody, and I think it's specifically in the early stage, is like we're always trying to make places for ourselves in the other person's life. Everybody in their lives already exists in this like kind of orbit around them, and we're trying to figure out how we fit into all of that. And so it's a little bit of like, how do I fit into this, into something that's already been there and is already established, and like also isn't just between these two people, but between these two people in their extended circle. Like I don't think like it's not a deal breaker at all. I just think it requires like navigation, and also like conversation around like what relationships mean and what the boundaries are, and how that functions, and how I can like find my space within that.
I'm with you. Like, I'm one of these people that's pretty open-minded about that stuff. Like, I'm friends with exes. And for me, I think what it comes down to is like trusting that someone has the emotional maturity to handle that and to healthily evolve their relationship with their ex into a friendship. And in fact, I kind of see it as a green flag. I don't know how rational that is, but emotionally, I see it as a green flag if someone is friends with their ex, because it shows me emotional maturity, broadly speaking, if I can trust that they're not in some weird toxic thing with them. And like
Yeah.
people, like if someone is like, if I started dating someone and they revealed that they have a massive problem just in the principle of being friends with an ex, that for me is a red flag. Not only because they wouldn't be a match for me because I'm friends with exes, but because I think what it signifies, to me at least, is that they don't know how to that they don't know how to handle that change, and that there's always some like weird energy in that relationship with somebody that they are actually just shutting off rather than managing or evolving.
Yeah.
So to
Yeah.
me, it's a sign of like emotional immaturity a little bit.
I agree with you, but you're talking about being friends with your ex. I think it's different if you're best friends with your ex. To me, it's
Yeah.
definitely like not ideal. It's not something I want to go into. And I don't know if I would say a deal breaker, like as soon as I hear it, I'm out, but probably I'm out. Because
I mean,
like
I will.
for me, it's like if you're so a romantic relationship is best friends plus romance, and if you've already had the romance, then you probably still or could have the romance again, and you've still got the best friends. So like I don't know, it's too much. There's too much.
But what if you trusted that? Like, what if you saw it, their relationship, and you can see that there's like healthy boundaries there? Would you still feel uncomfortable?
I don't know. Yeah, probably. So
Interesting.
what's wrong with you that like you need to be best friends with your ex? Like why aren't you just with them?
Because I think also for some people, they're like adding the romantic component doesn't actually help our relationship, it hinders it.
Okay, the next one is they have no female friends. Is it
Yeah,
a
deal
deal
breaker.
breaker? Yeah. I'd never thought about it, but for me it would be a big red flag for sure. Deal breaker? Don't know, I'd have to think about that, but I think it's weird. Like, what does it say about your attitude towards women?
I think, you know, like the most attractive men in terms of personality and how they treat you tend to be men who have sisters. And then that's like the top tier. And the bottom tier
You
is men
think?
who don't even have female friends.
Okay, interesting.
Like they don't even know how to talk to a woman. How do you not have a female friend? Like how have you messed up every single interaction with a female person that you can't even have a friendship with them?
I think there is a, like, it can be quite different between cultures. Like,
Yeah,
in
but I'm
certain
talking
cultures,
about in our culture.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I just wanted to caveat that, like, we're talking in our culture.
Um,
I
I
agree
guess
with you,
it's also
Sam.
what spaces have they been in, right? Like pulling fully from stereotypes here. If you're somebody who is like, if you are in this instance a man who is very shy growing up and then ended up in like a very heavily male profession and also like degree program, are the only people that you're coming into contact sufficiently enough with to even build friendships and like strong friendships with, mostly men. In which case it's a little bit like not ideal because there are these experiences that you're unfamiliar with, right? That's not to say like that excuses it or justifies it, but I don't think I would be like automatic red flag. I'd just be like, why is this the case? Again, it's just coming back to the why. Like I just want to know why people are the way they are.
Okay. Moving on.
Sure.
Okay.
Next one is they're a picky eater. Is it a deal
Oh, that's
breaker?
me too.
I
Well, you're
think
not
it's
picky by
different for you,
choice, right?
Sarah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're forced to be picky. For me, to be honest with you, like, picky eating is a bit unattractive. It's not a deal breaker for me. But if they eat really unhealthy and they're
Hmm.
picky, I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know if I could
to be
do that.
honest, I think generally like a lack of care for yourself is something I find really
That's the thing, because
unattractive.
that's what it comes down to. Like, if
Yeah.
there's a lack of care about your health, it's kind of a deal breaker, I
Hmm.
think.
I agree with
Yeah.
that.
I mean, when I put picky eater, I think I was thinking of like still eats like a 10-year-old kind of thing or
Yeah.
like a 5-year-old. So Tanya and I knew someone who was on a diet entirely consisting of like chicken nuggets and potatoes or something.
We
Like
did?
that's a deal breaker. Yeah, at uni.
Oh, okay. I think I know. Actually, I'm
Like
not sure.
I
I think I
couldn't
knew a
date
few people.
Yeah.
like it so much of dating is eating together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
We're cooking for
no.
each other.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not signing up for that.
I'm not making chicken dinosaurs for you every night. Yeah, I agree. If we're talking life partner, if I'm trying to find a life partner, it's a no. If we're just having a fling, whatever. It's unattractive, but fine. But no, I
Yeah.
agree.
No, I agree.
Because also, like, if
Yeah.
you have kids, what are you going to be eating? We've got to be aligned about this, about like the
Yeah.
health and how we value health in our household, right?
Yeah.
The last one we've got is they lack self awareness. This is a great one because I think this is absolutely a deal breaker for me. But you put this one down, didn't you, Sarah?
Yeah, I just like, can I take you out in public is really the question that I want to ask. But it's not even, I think it's just like, do you understand like what's appropriate to be doing in certain settings? Like, can you understand when actually like your input is not necessary and you should just be listening? But also like, do you think about how you feel about things and why that is? And do you like do some self-reflection and do you do all these things? It's that side
Yeah.
versus like, are you really clumsy? Which is like, not, I could care less. But
Sure. Yeah. You don't need bodily self-awareness necessarily, but yeah, I'm with you. Like,
I mean, I think
you
you
need to be
but
like, you need to be sufficiently self-aware and be like conscientious of how you impact other people, for sure.
yeah,
If you're not that, it's just
yeah,
like there's no way I would date
yeah.
you.
So I have a dating anecdote
Go on.
about like someone who I think lacks self-awareness. I went on a date with someone and I was completely carrying the conversation. I was asking all the questions and he was just answering. And then if he wasn't answering a question, it was like nothing was happening in the conversation. It was pretty awkward, so I kept drinking, carrying the conversation and drinking. And the more I drank, the more I enjoyed the the date. So then I ended up going on a second date with him.
Oh, whoops.
And yeah, on this date, I was like careful not to fall into that same trap and just be like, okay, was that accurate? And yes, it was. Like, he asked me 2 questions, I think, during the whole date. It's a second date, so like, surely you're interested in me enough to ask questions by now. And the 2 questions were, did you get anything good for Christmas? And how are you getting home? I think were the 2 questions.
But not even, can we go on a third date?
No, he did not ask for a third date because I was sure not to put in the same over amount of effort into that date, like to carry the conversation.
Did you
I
get
made
anything
sure
good for Christmas?
I didn't care how awkward it got. If he wasn't asking me a question, I just sat there because I wanted to make sure. And it was so awkward because he didn't know how to have a conversation.
And the best he could come up with was, did you get anything good for Christmas?
Yeah.
That's horrific.
Well, it was just after Christmas, so it's relevant, but it's also like that has nothing to do with what
if he
a date
asked you
is
that
about.
in August, that would be like a shocking display of dating skill.
So then, like, there was an awkward goodbye. And afterwards, because we'd been on 2 dates, I wanted to give him the respect of saying, like, thank you, I'm not interested anymore. So I thought it was respectful to call him to say so. So I called him. He rejected my call. And then he was like, kind of like, what do you want? And I texted him, like, sorry, I'm not interested anymore. And he wrote, LOL. And at this point, I was pissed.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I was pissed.
That was
I
his
was like,
only response?
what do you mean, LOL? And he was like, I don't remember what he said, but he was like, yeah, I felt like our second date was kind of shit. Or I don't remember his words, but yeah. And oh my, then I was like, oh no, you're not getting away with this. And I went off on him.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it was shit because blah, 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 blah. And I really gave it to him. And afterwards, he obviously realized that I was right. And he was like trying to call me and trying to make amends and stuff. And I was like, no, sorry, it's too late. And he kept calling me and stuff. So I blocked him. And then like,
how do you know he was trying to make amends? What if he just wanted to have a fight?
Well, because I don't remember what exactly he said, but I do remember that that's what was coming across.
Okay.
And then like a year later, he tried to match with me again and just wrote like, hey. And then,
hey?
Yeah.
Lol.
And then like 2 weeks ago, so this is like maybe 4 years after our 2 dates, 2 weeks ago, he tried to friend me on Instagram. Not even with a hey, just friend me.
Just a friend request.
So weird.
So weird.
Well,
like
maybe he
no
wants to thank
self-awareness
you.
whatsoever.
Maybe he wants to thank you for changing the trajectory of his dating life ever since.
But then
giving
send
him all
that
this
message. If that's true, then send that message. Like, you obviously have no emotional intelligence whatsoever.
Oh my god, that's shocking behavior. You see, this is why I'm like dreading the idea of putting myself out there. There's just so many crazies out there, yo. But I think like I just need to go
Yeah,
into this like as an experiment
yeah.
to
I
learn
think
about
it's interesting
myself.
because you started with saying that people are that you'll find out about a lot about yourself. I think maybe that I don't know how true that is. I'm gonna be honest with you. It may not be the most transformative experience, but it's entertaining. That's my like
Yeah,
advice to you. Is just do it because like it's nice to sometimes meet people and meet new people and like see how they like shift how you feel about dating generally or the world or anything else. I think like dating can be transformative or it can be like an absolute terrible experience, but like that doesn't disqualify it from being something you should be spending your
a
time
learning
on, I think.
experience. Yeah.
I agree with you on one point.
Yeah, if some
Like, do it if, as long as it's fun, and as soon as it's not fun anymore, maybe rethink it. Like, I think if you find dating fun, then yeah, do it. On the other hand, I don't really agree that, like, yes, you can learn what you like and don't like, but I don't find it useful. Because once you find the right person, you'll know what you like and don't like about them, and it doesn't matter what you've learned in the past, if that makes sense. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a nice note to end on.
Yeah. All right. So that that was an informative discussion for me. It was good to absorb your insights and experience from your dating life. Maybe one of these days we'll do a follow-up episode where I give you an update on how it's going for me. But um I think it's given like our conversation has given me a little bit more levity. That's the word. It's given me a bit more of a sense of levity about the whole dating thing. So thank you for that. And for any listeners out there, if you enjoy this conversation, give it a like, give us a comment, give us a 5-star review, whatever. I would love to hear your tips or perspective on this topic. And thank you, Sarah, for being a wonderful guest.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Sarah.
having me. Thank you for having
Thanks,
Yeah,
me.
Sarah.
without you, this conversation would not have brought levity to Tanya's attitude.
Yeah,
So thank you, Sarah.
exactly.
It's my pleasure.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Until next time.